Hello and welcome to a special presentation from In the Money Media. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornital, with you in the Brooklyn bunker. We've got two great guests today, but before we get to them, I need to do the hat change. You know, this is the one I'm usually wearing. Let's go ahead. It's a little over the top, but we're going to bust out the topper for today's show, and we're going to introduce our guests very quickly. We've got, there may be another hat coming out. We've got Nick Luck and Vanessa Ryle. Nick, excited for you to be with us on the show here. Are you going to put some headgear on, or was this just a tease? Oh, there it is.
Oh, look at that. What a man. Fantastic. He's just always ready, isn't he? Just always ready.
Always. It just happens to be sitting here.
Wonderful time.
Right by my side.
We've also got Vanessa Ryle with us. We're going to start off, though, Nick, with one of the 10 horses that you wanted to talk about, or one of the 5 horses that you wanted to talk about, and that's Docklands. Why does this horse make the list?
It's not a wild swing, but it's an ambitious one. First race, Queen Anne Stakes. We know that Inspiral's not running now, so this makes the task a lot easier. The other horse of conspicuous talent in the race is Big Rock, but we've got zero clue which Big Rock will turn up after his disappointment last time. We don't know whether it'll be fast or soft ground because the weather forecast is so indistinct. Unless they get a deluge, I think it'll actually ride pretty quick for the first race on Queen Anne Stakes Day because he's not been able to water because of the unsettled forecast. Therefore, Docklands, a horse who loves this track, goes, I think, much better on fast ground and comes from a very capable trainer who's had winners at the last 2 Royal Ascots. I think he represents a little bit of value. He's a smooth travelling horse who can bridge the gap from very good handicapper to top flight performer, much as Accidental Agent and Lord Glitters did in the same race.
Let's keep it with you, Nick, as we go through this top 10 horses to follow list. What can you tell us about Believing?
What can I tell you about Believing? She's curiously underestimated, despite, I think, producing the best trial for what is now called the King Charles III Stakes. Used to be called the King's Stand. She was dropped down to the minimum distance, 5 furlongs, at Haydock last time, and she streaked clear of a really good field off a very strong pace. Now, if the rain comes, I don't like her. If the rain doesn't come, I do like her. She's a much better physical specimen than she was last year. This is a very open race. There are not that many horses that I feel particularly attracted to, and I didn't think Big Evs was brilliant on his comeback run at York, the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint winner. Vanessa doesn't agree with me.
I think that's an outrageous statement, but anyway.
No, go on. Please interrupt my monologue.
No, all right. No, I don't know. You weren't impressed with him on his comeback run. Like, it was just a comeback run. I honestly wouldn't have been disappointed if he was beaten in that. I know it obviously isn't his level he's shown in the past, but I thought for a comeback run, that was everything and more you could want from him. Big Fs.
It was perfectly adequate. I agree that it was perfectly adequate. I just don't think that in and of itself, and even a bit of an improvement on that, entitles him to be a whatever he is, 5-2 shot, 3-1 shot. I want to look for medium-sized stakes and a big price here, and I think Believing is going to run a huge race.
I like the accent, Vanessa. Let's bring you in to talk about one of the runners on your list, and that's Notable Speech.
Yeah, well, the sprinting waters that Lucky have just been talking about is pretty murky. Murky sprinting waters is how we've labelled it over here in the last few weeks. Whereas the 3-year-old milers, Colts and fillies, their races are going to stand up and be terrific races and sort of hopefully bring out a champion in each department. And I think that is Notable Speech. The more I watch back his 2000 Guineas win, obviously for Team Charlie Appleby and Godolphin, the more impressed I am. And I said the other day that he bolted up in that race and I was shot down. This great game of opinions. Apparently he didn't bolt up. But I think the more I watch it back, the more he did. I think there's going to be more to come from him. You can make that case. I know he'd been on the go all winter, but in terms of the switch to the turf, different track at Ascot as well, I just like so much about him, and I am genuinely a real Rosalian fan. But Lucky, will Rosalian show up if the rain comes? Probably not.
I think there'd have to be a real deluge for him not to show up. But you feel for Rosalian's connections. I know he's won a classic and he was a great 2-year-old, but you know they've gone into the Guineas. They've got City of Troy beaten. He's got the best turn of foot of any horse in training, except there's another one that has a better turn of foot, and that's Notable Speech. I think Notable Speech is just a slightly better horse on that evidence. And I think that the track will suit Notable Speech so well. He's so handy neat, settles, quickens on a sixpence. Yeah, I'm with Vanessa here.
I like
We're
that
in
phrase.
agreement.
Quickens on a sixpence. I like that. 2-year-old racing. One of the things this meeting is known for. You had a 2-year-old on your list, Nick, who clocks in at number 7.
Yeah, Miss Rascal. Yeah. Now, the Queen Mary is one of the more open 2-year-old races of the week. And I fear Make Haste. I think she's a very good filly, but the market's found her pretty well. And I think Miss Rascal might have been a bit underestimated. She didn't beat much when she won at Ascot earlier in the season over this distance, but she clocked some rapid sectionals. And I think she's just a bit of a now horse, bit of a pocket rocket for a stable that's pretty good at getting 2-year-olds revved for this meeting. So I just think she represents a little bit of double-digit value, Miss Rascal, in the Queen Mary Stakes, which takes place as the first race on Wednesday, if they haven't changed the order yet.
That's right. We're all about that double-digit value, that's for sure. Number 6 on the list is a runner who you both shared. We're going to be gentlemen and let Vanessa go first to talk about the merits of White Birch.
Yeah, I just think the market's got this the wrong way around. They seem to think that Auguste Rodin will be able to turn back the tables with White Birch in the Prince of Wales's, and I just don't think that's going to happen, basically. That Tatzel's Gold Cup form, to me, looks rock solid from White Birch, and he's just in that circumstance was much the best horse. I think people want to think that Auguste Rodin didn't show up. He's been traditionally a horse who either wins or bombs out. So him finishing second was a bit like, hang on, what sort of run was that? And I think it's easy to categorize it as a bomb out win because it wasn't a win, if you see what I'm saying. But actually, I'm inclined to think that that was his form as it stands right now. And White Birch, I hope will be able to frank it. I know Lucky's a really big fan of the horse, the team, and I think the time of that race, you'll know more about that, Lucky, than me, but there's not a lot to say that victory was a fluke to my eye anyway.
No, I agree. I mean, if you're unsure how Auguste Rodin ran and you can't quite make up your mind whether it was a good run or a disappointing one, then the only thing that's not going to lie to you is the clock. So, I'm inclined to believe that White Birch beat Auguste Rodin on merit on that day. Now, that doesn't mean that Auguste Rodin can't get past him again if he comes forward for that run, but I think the chances of him coming forward for that run would be greatly enhanced if this race was run over 1.5 miles and not over 1.25 miles. And the way that White Birch was ridden right in Auguste Rodin's slipstream and appeared to me to do him for a bit of speed suggests that Ascot's short straight might be ideally to his liking. Now, Coolmore will try and turn this into a war and turn it into a real test of stamina. I'm not sure that's going to bother him too much either. I just think he's the horse on the up. And also, okay, he was too big a price relative to Auguste Rodin anyway. So Auguste Rodin was favourite. White Birch was twice the price. So that was the first part of the reason for backing White Birch. The second part is now you've got Inspiral in there as well. Much as I respect her, that's going to make White Birch's price even bigger.
5 down, 5 to go. We're going to tell you that you can bet on Royal Ascot at your local ADW in the USA. You can watch the coverage there, but why not watch it on Peacock and on NBC as well, where you can see the likes of some of the people we're talking to on this very podcast across those channels, the way they're going to be presented. Want to encourage folks, if you like the content from In the Money Media, to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That helps us out a lot. And we're going to have daily free content for Ascot, previews of all 35 races over on inthemoneypodcast.com. And you can get even more, including tips from Rob Dove, one of the top 10 pro punters in the UK today, over on our In the Money Plus side, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. We bring it back with number 5, a horse that might just be a horse for course for Royal Ascot looking through the form. Vanessa, what can you tell us about Rogue Millennium?
Oh, we're into Rogue Millennium. Sorry, I've jumped out of order here. Very excited about Millennium coming back to win this race for a second year, but obviously with new connections now. American listeners, viewers out there will know Joseph O'Brien well at this point, and he now has this horse Rogue Millennium to train. Won it last year, as I say, has had one start for Joseph, and just given the way Joseph trains, they all come on for the run. She was fancied at the Curragh on bare form. When you look at it, her price and where she finished against those rivals in a Group 2, you could be disappointed, but I just know that she'll come on for it. I think they'll they've kept her in training and she's with the new connections to win a Group 1. I think she's running 6 Group 1s thus far in her career. She's not yet managed to win one, but obviously for the breeder now, if she was to win one, she just takes herself up to a completely another level that they obviously want to try get her to. And they've kept her in training to win a Group 1, but other than that, this season, I think the second most important target for her will be winning this race again. And I just expect her to take that big leap forward from what she did at the Curragh and then go on. I think she's about a 10-1 shot for the Pretty Polly if she was to go there to try win that Group 1. I think she'll win the Duke of Cambridge, and I think she'll bag her Group 1 by the end of the year, courtesy of the new team. Not that the old team did anything wrong with her, but, new environment, different training. I think they'll be able to get the Group 1 on her score sheet as an older horse.
Let's talk about Trawlerman, Nick, number 4 on the list. What put this one on the list for you?
John Gosden's got 3 in the Gold Cup. This one's the biggest price of the 3, and I think he has the best chance. He's beaten the favourite Kyprios before at Ascot. Kyprios a shade of odds on in places. That's fine. I can watch him win at odds on. No issues there. Not going to start slagging him off. Cracking horse, but watch him win at odds on. Think the race is more open. The ratings will tell you that. Trawlerman will just gallop all day, and I think he actually wants an extreme distance. I also don't think he wanted the ground as fast as it was in Dubai. It's not going to be as quick as that at Ascot, whatever happens this week. And I just think he's got a very, very solid profile. We know he likes the track. We know he stays. We know he likes just good ground. And I think this is going to be Kieran Schumacher's crowning moment for John Gosden, even though he's got 2 other runners in the race, Gregory and Sweet William. And Aidan O'Brien's likely to have 3 or 4 as well. It's a Gosden-O'Brien shootout, this race. Gosden says he's got a cunning plan. I think his cunning plan is that Trawlerman is going to run a really, really big race.
It's a compelling case. Vanessa, we had the pleasure of having you over to help us with our Breeders' Cup coverage for In the Money Media. And one of the form lines that came up several times was to the horse that we're going to talk about next. It's Van Dijk. What do you think of Van Dijk's chances at Royal Ascot?
Well, I think I've had him as like the horse that the Commonwealth Cup is designed for, basically. All winter long, I had it in my head. Van Dijk is going to absolutely bolt up in the Commonwealth Cup, and this is what the race was created for. Of course, he's come out and he's been beat in the Sandy Lane after some pretty confident chat beforehand and since, in fairness. Beaten by Inishirin that day, and there's no getting away from the fact that Haydock reappearance was disappointing. But you go back and look at that what he was doing as a 2-year-old. Obviously, in the morning against Ramatuelle, who we'll get onto in due course, like that form line. But then in the Middle Park, I mean, that was a real wow performance, and it lives long in the memory. And I just not having that he hasn't trained on just one run. I think that was a comeback run. I think he got a bit stuck in the mud. I think better ground, hopefully, if the rain doesn't come too much, at Ascot. And I think the Commonwealth Cup was made for him. And he's currently about 4-1 co-favourite with Inishirin, who I'm completely respectful of as an unexposed sprinter in this category. But I still believe in Van Dijk, and I believe he's got something a bit above average.
Let's talk about Ramatuelle. This is one I think you guys might have a little bit of a disagreement on. We'll start with Vanessa making the pro case.
Pro Ramatuelle. I loved her last year as a 2-year-old for starters. And then I just thought she was so unlucky in the 1,000 guineas. This is going to be a really strong opinion splitter all through the week. And it'll be great to have it out with people. I think she should have won 1,000 guineas. I think with just a fraction of a quieter ride, given where she came from, given how much gas she had they chose to use up early with her, given where the winner ended up coming from and the placed horses around her, I personally think that she has the ability to be a classic winner, and she's not, which is unfortunate. I think going round a bend in the Coronation is going to help her hugely, and I'm all for Ramatuelle in the race. I think El Malka, I'm not a believer in her. I know she was green in the 1,000 guineas. I know there's a case that she could step forward hugely from it. I'm just not a believer. And then as for Fallen Angel, I'm very much a believer in Fallen Angel. But at the prices, Ramatuelle is the one for me. Why do you not agree, Nick Luck?
Well, I actually backed her in the 1,000 guineas, and I agree with you that she should have won the 1,000 guineas. But she reminds me, both in run style and physique, of that classic example of the Guineas being the last 2-year-old race of the season, that old Gosden phrase. And
She's a
I'm just not
diddler, isn't
convinced
she? She's a diddler.
she is small. I mean, people can argue about how big City of Troy is till they're blue in the face. She is small, and she was a very brisk, nippy 2-year-old. And I felt that the Guineas was her day, and that's as good as she's going to get. Now, there's a million O'Brien horses you could fancy during the week, and we've hardly mentioned any of them.
Yeah.
I'm really keen on Opera Singer here if she rolls up here, which I assume she's going to.
You rarely hear Aidan as kind of we haven't got her ready as he was prior to that Irish 1,000 guineas run, do you? Like, I mean, it was like
that Marcel Boussac performance, I thought,
yeah,
was just completely different gravy to any 2-year-old filly performance last year. And they were going to take her to the Breeders' Cup, and they watched that, and they were like, "Oof, better not do that. Better keep her at home." And then, of course, has an issue and blah blah. I know her relatives didn't go on at 3, but she's got a slightly different physique, and I think the faster ground, the turning track, yeah, I think she's just a huge chance here. She'd definitely reverse the form with Fallen Angel. I think that I would have gone to the Prix de Diane with Fallen Angel. I think and gone
yes,
up to.
yes,
I would have
I
gone
like
to Royal
that.
Ascot. I think she's a cracking filly.
Yeah.
I'm all over Opera Singer.
All the best YouTube top 10 videos have honorable mentions. Without planning it, we give you an honorable mention in Opera Singer for Nick. Certainly incredibly impressive as a 2-year-old. And this question, and as horses race fewer and fewer times, it gets harder and harder to answer on one run in big races. They trained on? Did they need the race? These are the kind of questions we'll be answering for a lot of these runners next week at Royal Ascot. Let's get to the number one runner on our list. We'll send it right back to you, Nick, to talk about Desert Hero.
Yeah, number one, by dint of the fact this is the final runner of these 10
Yes.
chronologically. So Saturday Hardwick Stakes, I think we're going to have a royal winner. He won at the meeting last year. Desert Hero won the King George V handicap, for which he was beautifully trained. He ran. You talk about being forgiving. He ran disgustingly last time. He was horrible at Newbury. He finished a horrible 5th, having run a brilliant race on his comeback to finish 2nd over an inadequate 1.25 miles. This is what he wants. If you look at the St. Ledger, a couple of furlongs out, really, he's going better than Continuous at that point. Continuous has out-galloped him. I think at 1.5 miles with a short straight on a track that he's proven at, I don't think there's that much between Desert Hero and Continuous on their best, yet they're poles apart in price. And, he's been trained for the day. There's a lot of horses between the favourite and him that either might not run or aren't that good. And I just think he is a talent. I think he's a bit of a quirky talent, but he is a talent. And I want to be with him, win and place Desert Hero in the Hardwick.
To Nick's point, we obviously did our top 10 list chronologically. I want to now go back to each guest and give them an opportunity to just list one. If there was just one horse to follow out of this list for each of them, which one that would be. But before I do that, I do want to put in the plug one more time and let you know that if you subscribe to the In the Money Players podcast, wherever you get your pods, we are going to have daily coverage within the 48-hour declaration list where we know exactly who's going to be running. We've got the written coverage at inthemoneypodcast.com. We encourage you to watch on Peacock and NBC. You'll see some of the Sky coverage on there as well during the week. Should be very fun, though. There's an American who talks from time to time where you don't want to listen to him, but the rest of them are pretty good on that station. Let's throw it back to you each, starting with you, Vanessa. Give me one of these top 10, the horse that you're most interested to follow.
The prices currently, Van Dijk in the Commonwealth on Friday.
Nick, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I like Vanessa. Notable Speech is probably the horse I'm most looking forward to seeing all week. But at the odds, and I've been trying to filch out a little bit of value, Believing, I think, has been completely underestimated for her victory at Haydock. And so I think she can win the King Charles III Stakes.
Great stuff, Nick. Great stuff, Vanessa. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Leave us your comments, please. We'd love to hear from you about who your most likely Royal Ascot winners are. Get a nice conversation going there. Until the next time, for In the Money Media, I'm Peter Thomas Fornatal. May you win all your Royal Ascot photos.